this is Sally Wood for Being Inspired, and I was recently sent these two chairs. They have been at a previous upholsterer who very kindly ripped everything out, and that is as far as it got. So, fortunately, I've got a couple of photos of what the chairs looked like before we got there, and so I hope that I am able to do them justice. So I will explain as I go along how I'm going to fix this problem, and we can go from there. This is a rookie mistake. Somebody was very eager to get this done, and they've removed this. This does not need to be removed. This should have been left in situ all the way around. It helps keep a nice edge on the furniture. The other thing they've done is they've removed absolutely everything from here, and I really don't have enough of either part to go back. So this would go here, this would go here to give it a nice edge. Because I don't have enough for two chairs, I can't put it all in. I've got to think of another way of doing it. And this is why I do these videos for you. It's because I want everybody to have a good result, and not everybody can buy this kind of thing or knows how to use it. So we are going for a modern look. This is a modern reproduction chair. So I'm going to get rid of that and get rid of this, and I will put it together in a way that looks really good. Just leave all of this back. Usually there's a piece of fabric over here. Leave it in place and then just cover over the top. You don't need to remove this part of the chair. So I'm going to take these staples out that he very kindly left in. I don't want to be hurt by these. Cut myself enough times over the years. I don't want to add to it if I can help it. Now I have to restaple everything back into place, which is time and effort. If you ditch this, this is all your profit going down the drain. There was no need to do it. Apparently the guy was new to upholstery. I don't know whether he'd been trained. I don't know the full story. I'm going to pop this round like this. There is the shaping for the front and the sides. This is a little bit awkward because it's got to go all the way through. It doesn't quite get to all the sides. So, ooh, and there's a staple sticking up, which I've just almost cut myself on. I do have a few pins here, so I'm going to pin that to the base of this side and also on this side. It's not perfect. And then I'm going to start cutting around. Cut into here. There's a corner right here and here. Make sure that fits in like that. This comes up and around. And then under. I'll add it here. I don't have to really add it onto this side. And then I'm just going to cut on this side like that, so it goes in, and also on that side. So that goes around. And again, I don't have to cut on there because it will go straight under the sides here. I'm going to put another pin here. It doesn't hold it very well. It can rip, but at least it will hold it more or less in place, and I'll put another one there. Now once I've got that repositioned, I'm just going to ease the paper towards the back. It might be easier said than done actually. Ease that in here, and I'm going to just cut in like that. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut a basic shape. I've got a fold line, so that kind of makes it easier. Now because this is under the arm, it won't matter if it's slightly off, because nobody will see. Just pop that in. Now this is going to give me a general shape. I'll come around, I'll cut out, and then I'll come back in here at the front. I just need general ideas as to where all of this is. This I can cut in slightly because that's not quite as even as I thought it was on the other side. And then I will just start cutting along the back too, and cut this out. I know that this is square at the back, so if I mess it up it won't matter too much. I can square it off when I'm doing the foam. And now I'll carry on around the chair. When you're happy with your pattern, unpin it and very carefully ease it out. I have a basic shape for what I need. Cut on the folded edge because that's where I folded it against the side of the chair, and that will give me a nice smooth look. I also folded it on this side here. I'm just going to draw around my pattern. I'm going to do this all the way around. Coming down the side, I know this is correct because I folded it. And then I'm going to just cut in like that around here. I'm going to come out like that. I'm actually going to exaggerate it a bit because I don't really know. But I also know that I need to come here, here, and here. Then on down the side here. If you don't think you can keep your pattern straight, you can always put pins in through the foam. And just go down there and across there, and then all the way along the back. And on the other side. When you're cutting foam, one, make sure that the foam is not touching anything underneath where you want to cut it. Otherwise you end up cutting and blunting your knife. You can use a normal carving knife, it's up to you. I always use the electric one. Now I'm going to try to keep the blade perpendicular or at right angles. That's my first cut, my second, and then I'm going to move this in slightly. I move it as close as I can to the surface because then it stops it from rolling down too much. And then I'll go across. I just cut at cross angles like that, and I don't want to take it too close, so and I'll do the same on this one too. That's so if I don't need to cut it out, I can just push it right down and in, and it'll still give the shape that I want. I'll just carry on cutting around the rest of this. Now, something I came across when I was trying to fit this in was on the chair frame, there's actually a roll of cotton, and this would go under, but I am not fighting it under, so I'm going to just cut about 1 inch off each of these so it can go in behind. It doesn't have to be exact. And then I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to stop here because there's an inside bar, and that should be enough to tuck the fabric in and then squash around that. So I'm going to do the same on the other side, like this. It's not perfect, but there should be enough give to go under that roll and get it into place. The reason I had to cut the foam is they have this bar of wadding here, which means it's very difficult for me to push the foam underneath. So I will push it as close to the edge there, and that will be fine. And what's something else I was going to look at? I can feel the spring from here, here and here along these. I know you can't see them. There's also springs here. And if I rub my hand along this side, I can feel some twine and some twine there. And if I go along this side, I can feel the twine here. There isn't any twine here, so I'm going to have to undo this one side and put some twine on because this has twisted and it shouldn't be. It feels like it's twisted, but I think it just needs to be brought out in line with here, and it goes in here. So I'm going to pull this one across and reattach it. So I've lifted this. I'm going to see what's under there. Oh, hold on. Twine there. So these are actually attached to the spring. All I need to do is pull this out and attach it to the side of the chair in a couple of places. So I'm going to line that up with that, and hopefully this will work. This new staple gun is the bane of my life. It has a gadget here that is the safety thing, which is really good, but I have to actually fool it into working. So that's holding that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up and the safety thing and lock it into place. I feel really bad. I used to have a long nose staple gun, but it broke the other day, so those aren't really in very well. I'm going to put that like that and then bang it like that. It's kind of in. I'm going to pull this one out. I certainly don't need these here. Having done that, I'm going to fold that over like that so it goes the other way, and again I'm going to pull my safety back and staple it into place, and the same here. This is so irritating. So that'll hold it for now, and I'm just going to pull this over and staple again into place. When I did this earlier, I had no clue until I did the second chair that there was something wrong, and that sometimes happens, so just be aware you might have to redo something. I need to push this into place, and to push it in like this is really not going to work very easily. I'm going to put some polythene around, not too far around, not right under, just enough to cover the edges like that. And I'm going to line up this corner here and push that side in, making sure the back's covered too. Just gets the initial foam into place, and when you've done that, adjust it, and then as you gets into place, you can start pulling the plastic out like that. It saves you fighting everything as you go. And sometimes it takes a couple of times to get in. I think I might have to pull that out and start again because it seems to be a little bit forward on this side and not quite so on the other. That's the easiest way to get it in when you've already got foam in, especially when you've got siding here that's not going to let you move it very easily. Occasionally you need to replace an existing piece of foam or use foam instead of what was already there, which is what happened in this case. I've worked this in twice. I'm going to just pull this white decor out because that can be moved. It's just everything else that's under there that it's a little bit difficult to move, and I'll work my way around. Although this has an obvious centre, still mark the centre point. If this was a little bit lower and I could easily line it up, then I wouldn't bother, but it's always worth doing properly. Measure it all the way out. I think it's 15, if I remember rightly, because I've just done one. It's just on the 15, so I'll mark that. I know that my centre is here. Pop that on. I'm not going to stick it down just yet. I'm now going to even this fabric back and into place. I don't want it to come down too much because on the other one, that is where it is. And just a little ways back so that when I pull it down, it will have a similar curvature to the other chair. So when you're doing two chairs, always make sure that they match. Might need to take it back just a little bit. Always work your work into place. Yeah, I think that's about right. Maybe a little bit more, but I can work that in a minute. Like with any other chair, I'm going to push this into the corners like that. I'm going to start cutting, but I'm not going to cut all the way back. The reason is the chair goes a little bit further, or does it? So I'm just going to cut in towards the corner like that. There is quite a way before I reach that outside edge. The first part I need to put in is actually towards the centre of the back. I have to push that down. It's got some cotton wadding there which I can also pick up, and then I'll have to push that down under the bar that's at the back. I have to centre the back before I go into the sides. Just mark the centre back here, and I'm going to pull this fabric from the other side through. It's more or less to that corner and that way. And now I'll pull this way. That's the theory. This fabric is quite firm and invariably needs a little bit extra help than a normal fabric would. I'm only going to pull so far because what I need to do is centre it on that line, and my centre mark is not where I want it to be. Push that down. See, here's my centre mark and there's the centre. I've pulled it too far the other way, but that's an easy fix. What I'm going to do is just pull. I know this is the centre because of the way the pattern goes. Put that on my centre mark, put it into position. I will be removing these. This is just to hold it for now while I work the sides into place. What I noticed about this side when I was putting it in, seems to dip just there, which is not good. It doesn't dip here. So I got to looking and I noticed, which I hadn't really looked at earlier, there's a piece of fabric here, but the hessian has been stapled underneath. So I'm going to remove this and remove the staples and bring it out, and then I won't have to fill this with filler and make it uneven. It's not an easy place to get to, so I'm having to turn my tack remover the other way around and push out and across. I've got to get across there. I'm hoping that is enough to remove all of that. There's something else going on here. Can't see, that's the trouble, and I wouldn't be able to see very well anyway. I think there's another one in here that needs to come out. So I'll work on that. It was just slightly caught there, so I'm going to fold that over like that and staple that. Like it is here, I'm just going to fold that over, move all this wadding out of the way from underneath and staple that into place, and it should make a big difference. Now when I push that all into place, it doesn't dip down like it was. That's good, that's how it should be. And then I can work that around. Now because I didn't cut all of this out, you can see where my cut mark was and where this is. It pushes in nicely and fills that gap, otherwise it would be open. So bear that in mind, you don't just cut all the way out for a cutout like that, just allow it a little bit extra. I'm going to just pull the fabric up towards the front, push the foam back and secure it. I'm not putting Dacron on. I might use Dacron as a filler, but it really isn't that important for this base. secure both sides so it doesn't pull. The trouble with this fabric is it rips, just like that. I'm going to just pull it in towards this side to start off with, and it is going to pull in and round off. I'm only going to go so far because I don't want it to impede in other things that I'm doing with this cover. Got to kind of get the fabric exactly where I want it the first time round, because I can't afford to have rips in it that will show. And bring that round and secure that. That line comes in. I have another chair to follow, so I'm going to bring this line in here like this on that side, and the same on this side. I might need to push fabric up from the other end if it pulls too much. I think I will, because that looks like it's going to tear. So what I'm going to do is come back here and pull the fabric forward on this side, and the same on this, and pull it forward. I'm trying to copy the other one. So I'm going to bring this second one in here and here, I think. And maybe I'm going to just leave it so I can work the corners in. That should hold for now. So that's the front started. Now, as before, I'm going to push this into place before I start cutting it. This fabric just tears, so you've got to be really super careful before you start pulling and pushing too much. I know that here is the post. I'm just going to come in like that, put a little V in. It's probably not in the right place, but that's okay. And then again at the back, I have to move all of this, thinking, because I can't go through the back, it has to go through the side. So I'm going to lift that up and cut into the side here, and again here, and that should push through like that. And it does, but there's too much fabric here. I'm going to cut some of that off and cut it down in a straight line so that I can fold that back as well and poke it underneath the bar here. Fold that, push that underneath like that. Oh gosh, I might have to cut that again. Pull that through. Here is the piece, and it actually comes onto here. Usually you pull it all the way to the back, but on this chair it's all the way here. So I'm going to adjust all of this so it fits in nicely. I'm going to work this in to get it nice and smooth. I've just measured the other chair, and this line here comes to 11¼ inches from that end in. So I'm just going to stabilize that and then rework everything to match that. It's worth trying to keep things equal if you can. Sometimes it's awkward, but usually it works out quite well. I've got it positioned where I want it, so I'm just going to pull that down so it runs along this bottom bar. I'm going to staple it into place. Shouldn't need too much wriggling. Along here, cut little V's in so that it will fold and pull out and give a nice smooth finish. And then here, I'm just going to cut that up like that. Oops, right in there. It won't matter because there's a top coming down, and that will hide anything that's wrong. Make sure that all the staples that are poking out come out. It's a nasty, nasty surprise. I can't secure this piece yet because I've got to put the back in to just midway in this pattern, because I've got to pull this round. That's a good hand width and a bit from the edge here. This all pulls in at an angle. I'm going to finish the inside and make sure that that is where it needs to be. Now all I can do is just pull this forward slightly. It doesn't have to go very much forward, it just needs the pattern to go up and down. And now I've got to work this front area in without tearing the fabric, which is what I did yesterday, unfortunately. Not by very much, but enough that it could have been a problem. So I'm going to pull this out. The reason that I put V's like that or that is so that you spread the stress of the fabric. I'm going to push this side up from underneath. It seems counterproductive. Here is the cut that I made a short while ago, and it's really in the wrong place. So I'm going to pull that out and into the corner. I can feel it with my fingers, and that's where I'm going to be aiming with my new cut. Not too close though, because if it's wrong, I don't want it to show. That goes back under there, and I can fold it along the old cut, and I need to come in here. Now, this is an unusual arm. There's the end here, so I'm going to cut a generous area in at a bit of an angle, but not too much. so that I can push this all the way around. As I come around, I'm going to trim back that fabric just a little bit, but giving it plenty of extra room. So just a chunk off. That starts going where it needs to. That starts going where it needs to. That goes under there. That pulls back. That looks pretty neat. I'm pleased with that. Having readjusted all of that and recut it, all I'm going to do is put a few staples in. And again, I have to trick this into working. I'm not going to do anything with that just yet. Work to the front. Before I can start putting the front of this in, poke that back for a second, like that. And I need to work this in. Take that back to that corner, just a little bit shy, but not too shy. And the same with this, I'm going to just take that back to that corner there and cut some of that off. Push that down into there. Because I'm slightly off, I'm going to do a couple of fanning cuts. So basically, I'm just cutting a couple of little V's like this. I'm not sure if you can see that. So that goes all the way into there. It's a tight fit because I didn't cut everything back. Now I'm going to trim back this side a little bit, push that down and into place. Might need to add just a little bit more foam into there. I think maybe it's okay. What I need to do is when I push this back, it will fill that up just a little bit. I need to cut this back just a generous 1/2 inch so that that tucks down in there. I'm just going to put another little cut here. And I say a little cut, it's just minute, so that that will come around the corner a little bit better than it was. I think that will do. Now I'm going to pull in the sides. Pull this side in first. I'm going to lightly pull this in. I'm not going to pull it too far down because I want it even with this height here. I'm resting this safety thing on the base of the bar. That can be just slightly cut. And then I can pull that out slightly better as it comes around the corner. Do that one a little bit higher. I'm going to leave this piece open because I'm going to put something in here and I need to be able to get there and wriggle it. This can come on round. Twist that up. There seems to be a distinct lack of wadding on this side, so I'm going to have to put some in because that's going to come in too tight. Now I've just popped this in here behind what's already there so it feathers it out slightly. I don't know why he took all this stuff off. Push that in so it's level here. Bring that round so it's even to start off with. This will be readjusted. I'm just having to work things in first. Cut a piece like that and double it over. Now it goes on top of here, not under it all, because you want the fabric to fold up and round. It gives a softer line than if you don't have anything in there. That might actually do it for that end, but I'm not going to secure it until I've sorted the top out. But I can cut back some of this because I don't want too much fabric on this joint. I'm going to pop this in here. It's to soften the edge of the wood against the fabric so it shouldn't rip. It also hide any imperfections that might be there as well and force that in. I can't really staple it, that's the problem. So that would soften all of that. The piping finishes here and comes into place here. Bring that down. I'm actually going to bring it straight down like that. I'm going to cut it before I staple it. I'm also going to take some of the back side of that out because I don't need all that bulk in there, and staple that into place. With this, I'm just going to fold that over and bring that also into place. It can come over slightly if necessary. That should be about even. And again, staple that into place too. I can bring this across to the front. So I'm going to cut that back and do exactly the same. Make sure it all fits in. Cut that down here. Take some of the piping out because I don't need all of that piping in there. Bring that round, staple it. Bring this round and staple it too. And I'll do the same on the other side and then pull this in. Now I'm going to work this corner in and continue pulling the fabric into place. I'm just going to cut this up level with the chair, but I can snip it back later. And I'm going to come out like that for now. It's only a little bit out. Staple in here, pulling this down slightly. Pull this around under here, forming like a 45-degree angle. This needs to be kind of worked in. You really want this to be on the edge of the chair. So when you think you've got it, staple underneath to hold it in position. Trim back any excess, so I'll come back up here. I've got to that point, but I'm also going to take it out fold that back, and I'm going to bring all of that into position. Pull it down tight and staple. I might pull that further out. I'm putting another piece of fabric over the top, so that will hide it. I might rework this corner in a minute. So now I'm going to do exactly what I've done on the other side, but I will cut this back. I try to cut things back as I go. Makes things a lot easier. I'm going to work this in. Bear in mind I haven't secured it properly on the back. I am going to work out where the bottom of this is. And when I say this, it's the front of the chair as it goes round and as it splits to go up. And I'm going to cut down, not quite to it, a little feather cut either way, roll that underneath and cut this back. I'm going to cut quite a section off the top like that so that I can roll that underneath. This takes a little bit of planning because one, the fabric doesn't really want to do what I want it to do, and two, it will tear if I get it wrong. So I'm going to work on this until it's where I want it. I think what I might do is take the staples out this side and just pull that down so I don't have to mess too much. Oh, that's the better look. Just make sure that this folded fabric that goes underneath goes over any wadding so it fills it out. I think that's where I want it. I think I'm going to have to put a bit of wadding behind there so it brings it forward slightly like that. So I've just put this one up here. I'm going to pull these out and just realign this piece of fabric. And all I'm going to do is pull it down and round so it forms a straight line on the front. Not stapling too close to the front edge because I don't want to ruin anything. Yeah, I'm going to have to fold the bottom up just a little bit so that it realigns. There we go. Bottom here, I'm going to cut the excess off to the back like that so it thins it out. I'm also going to cut off here. It does come down to the bottom here and across. So that's that. Now I've got to work in the top. Just remove these two staples here because what I'm doing is I'm going to bring the fabric up and over and pull it towards the back, but I can't have any ripples in it because I'm trying to take the fabric from the front edge here and move it so it twists. Down again, just goes back slightly. Can bring that along. That runs along the top of the wood here. Put another one there just to hold it so I can see where I'm lining up to. Here I've got a little bit too much fabric. I'm not sure how much too much. Oh, actually quite a bit. I'm going to undo this all the way to the front edge and I'm going to cut about just under ½ inch off in a straight line because I want that to go underneath, and this all has to pull back really really tight. Roll that fabric back. So I'm going to pull this back again. It's coming in nicely actually, and I'm going to staple down here again, pushing that slightly in and really this time pulling it in. It's going to come back here and that is absolutely okay. It's nice and tight on this side. Not perfect, but it will do. With this style you can overthink it. I'm going to bring this out here. It's got to run with here like that. And I'm going to staple here. Now I want a tight corner so that it comes down level with the wood on the side here, which is a little bit not where I thought it was. But I will cut a bit of the fabric out like that so I can get it as close to square on as possible. Staple that, bring that down, then on down towards the bottom. Again, I'm going to cut that piece off like that, cut this back so I don't have all that wadding there, and then again another staple. And I can cut some of this up and out. It really is rather bulky. That like that, and staple into position. Basically that's the inside arm done and ready for covering. Do the other side now. Now as with the arms, I had to push everything back, but what I did was I made sure that the cuts that I made to go in here were equal, top and bottom, and then folded in. And now all I've got to do is pull all of this up and pull it tight and into place. Hopefully a lot of this will come out. I've just reset these ones, pulled it in, and they've got little pleats, and now I'm going to pull in either side again. I'll put a little pleat either side, trying to make it as even as possible. Now I'm going to cut these like you do in dressmaking, but just make sure that your finger is over the top of the wood frame before you start cutting, so you know where to stop. So having done that, I'm actually going to take a little bit of fabric off because it's quite a bit there I don't need, and I'm also going to flatten these out just by doing this almost to the top but not quite, which means they'll fold. Sometimes putting these sides in means you have to go up and down a couple of times to get them exactly where you want them. I had moved out, but having got that side in, I'm going to re-tack this in. It seems that it needs to go in a little bit looser than I had originally put it in, so now there's no rippling. So I'll now do the other side and the other chair. I am going to put this across here. Found the mark that I want to use, which is that one, which I've popped here on the center. Pull that on over towards here. See if I can get it in a straight line. I think it's going to be here. So I'm going to pop this up again, staple that. I've managed to get a few staples in, so it kind of holds it where I want it. I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to have to push really hard up against there, and because it's got lines in the fabric that are imprinted, it's sometimes really difficult to get everything exactly where you want it to be. I'm going to start here. I'm going to push hard up against the top like that, using 1/2 inch staples. I'm going to make my way across to both sides of here, pushing that hard up so it's in place like that. Double check, because this has got lines in it, it's very difficult to keep it exactly where you want it because those lines push things out. You think it's where you want it and then realize it isn't. And once that is in place, it'll just take a little minute. I've just put this on. I've taken it to just above here because I don't want it actually in this groove here, because otherwise I'm going to have bits of fluff showing and I don't want that to happen. And then I'm also going to cut back here along where the piping is. Cut it a little bit generous so that I can pull it out. I'm going to cut some back tacking. It needs to go almost to the top to nearly at the bottom, so I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to attach it quite close to the top to the bottom. I can fold the fabric round at the bottom if I need to. Cut that out. I don't want it too bulky. I need some of it going in but not all of it. So this is along where the piping is sewn, a little ways back, and then staple all the way down to the bottom first and make it as straight as I can. Going to pull those forward so they're almost touching the piping all the way down. Once that's done and in place, I can pull this back over. This just takes a little bit of the sharpness out of these. Then I'm going to pop that down like that. Put a staple in the center here. I'm not going to pull it down too much because I don't want to be showing anything if I've not put it in properly. Now that's in place. I am going to cut down here, being a little bit extravagant on the amount of fabric, because I want to be able to fold it all the way back without having any upsets. Now with my double-ended needle, I am rolling the fabric in under those teeth and on down. The whole idea is that all of this fabric is behind the teeth, and with this it's not very good at hiding everything, so if you don't get it all behind the teeth, just trim back where you need to and then start again. Work my way to the top, which is going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt because I need to cut all sorts of things back so that I can fold it and get that in. I think I need to trim that back too. This doesn't really like making nice sharp corners. Just do the best you can when you're doing things like this. I think that's going to go in at all well. Pull some of that out. See if I can cut it back a little bit more. I don't want to cut it too far back because if I do it won't catch. That might be just enough to do it. And getting a piece of foam or whatever, just hammer in place. Here it's sticking out. So where that's sticking out, I'm just going to pop this underneath and ease that up just in a couple of places. Getting pushed back a little bit further. That's sometimes all it needs is a little bit more shoving into place. Now I think I'll be able to straighten that out when I come in and attach it lower down. When you hammer it, go from the outside in. This down here is a little bit off. So I'm going to rework this, just these 3 inches. Before I do rework this little piece, I am going to pull this in put a few more staples in so that I know it's not going to go anywhere. I've put the metal back tacking in and around like I did on the arms. I've also put some of this dacron on. Then I am going to show you how to put this on, which involves pegs. Don't glue it, just peg it. So I have that going in the right direction. I need to bring that up a little bit, fold that round the corner and peg that onto the front. Hopefully that'll get it. And the same on the other side. Fold it over and peg it. Before I put the top in, I need to put the base in. Here's my centre mark, and I'm going to centre that on there and just put a few staples in. They don't have to be even, they just got to be there. They're just holding it, and I might change all of this later because I'm going to work the top in first. I just need something to pull against. You'll see that the fabric actually looks like it's twisted. It might be, but it might just be once everything's pulled into place, it will work. So I'm not going to worry about that. As I say, I've got something to pull against. Line the centres up as close as I can. And I'm going to just cut back. I can feel the piping here. I'm not cutting to the piping. I want to go as close as I can without messing up. That's the distance I've got. Pull that just a little bit. Recenter this. This is not good. This is why it's good to use pegs and not glue. Don't use glue. I recently took a chair to pieces and it had glue attaching the back. It's really not the way to go. This is the center point here. That's really twisted. Pull that on round and readjust on this side. It's going to look really warpy at the bottom, but that's fine. It doesn't matter at the moment. Line up the center to the center. And this is why you always cut generously so that you can make the alterations you need to. Then I'm going to, with my double-ended needle, actually I need to take that back a little bit further. Then I'm going to just pop that in behind there. There we go. And then I'm going to just ease one way, cut that back again. And keep that as smooth as I can, and I think this comes in here, so that in there. Just brought it up with my fingers, nothing else. What's it doing on this side? This part of the pattern here comes over on here. Take that down a little bit further and make sure that that goes in equally. This is one of those really slow jobs. Don't rush it, take your time. I'm actually on a time crunch today, but I can't rush the job. If I do rush the job, then it won't go in as well as it should. If you have to adjust anything, put your needle in, push it and out, and it should all come out without making too much of a mark. I just need that to hold for the time being. Match this side on here. Same here, just pop it behind. I'm just pushing it in with my fingers to start off with so it holds, and then I'm going to just work on down to this side. I think this is where I'm coming in on this side, so just need to make sure that's even. Pop that down. I really don't like this fabric. It's quite unforgiving. I'm just going to fold that over, pop it in with my fingers to start off with so I know it's nice and even. Because I don't want the weight on here, I'm going to cut all the way down. A very generous side seam. The seam is here, so I've got a good couple of inches, and then I can set it this side to make sure that's even to here. Anything else can be pulled shortly. Got some foam here. Tap this into place to pull this out. Now I'm going to do the same with this and bring that center line here down, see where it falls. Once I've got my line here, I push all of that stuffing up, pull that down and into place, and put a staple at the bottom of it. This is going to drop down. It looks like it's all wrinkled and out of place, but it probably isn't. It's probably just squiffy. Cut this back again, and this is still a generous allowance all the way up. I just like to have it a manageable width. And then when I've worked out where the turning is, which looks to be here, I can still cut along this line. So I'm just going to cut another width up. It's only to bring it a little bit closer to where I want it. I'll start at the bottom or towards the bottom and push all of this in behind here like that. It doesn't always want to catch when you put it behind here. You sometimes have to really hold it. Got a piece of foam there again. I'm just going to catch it down like that. Then I'm going to work on up. Then I'm going to do this on the other side as well. Push it in and it just keeps pulling out, which is really irritating, but never mind. Foam on there and hammer it in. I've already started, but what I do is I prefer to use a band, and I cut it at 1.5 inches. And I lay my tape measure over. I prefer to put each tack at about 1 inch. for each centre. Fold the band as I go. I just find this is an easy way. I very rarely do items with tacks, and I've done 3 in the past couple of months, so maybe I ought to go and invest in one of those gadgets to put them in, and then I won't have any for a long time again. But that's how I prefer to do them. Here's my centre. Always work from the centre out. Even if you end up working from one side up, always make sure you've got your centre marked. It just goes in more even. Not only that, if you have a corner and you've got 2 tacks that are quite close, that's acceptable. But as you get round, and if you had 2 tacks next to each other in the centre back, that's unacceptable. That's why I would advise you to do it this way. Especially if you're doing it an inch apart, you don't want to make it obvious that you made a mistake. And also try to keep the band even. It's not imperative, it just makes it look neater if it's kept even. And that's why I always choose 1.5 inches, because it always gives a nice finish. This is the back. Here's my centre. And then I'm just going to bring this around the corner. I'm going to roll everything in. I'm going to double check so I don't start in the wrong place. Put my first one here, and then I'll go back to the corner. So there's that one, but there's a big gap here, so I'm going to put one right on that corner too. That will happen on the other side, so it'll be nice and evenly spaced. I'm just going to make my way to the center back, because I need to join these 2 pieces up. I'm going to roll them in together like that. I always go down first and then up, so hopefully that will come in really tight. That's a bit too much, so I'm going to cut a little bit more out of here, because that's all going to be in here. That in and roll it. Put the one in the middle in first to hold everything, and then I'll do either side. Although it's not perfect, partly because of the fabric, the tack will hide most of the join, and lots of people don't even notice. And that's done. Thank you for joining me on this project. It was a little bit awkward in places, but I think the chairs have turned out stunning, and I hope that the lady will be thrilled with them. Just because I like it doesn't mean to say other people do. If you want to see more of me, please subscribe and hit the bell button. And in the meantime, take care. See you later. Ciao.